Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wrestling Nerdcast on the Angry Marks Podcast Network with your host, Will Huckaby and Mika Villas.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again. It's that time of the week. It's time for the Wrestling Nerdcast. As usual, this is a fan-listened and fan-supported show brought to you every week on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. If you like what you hear, if you like us bringing in these incredible guests each and every week, talking all the things wrestling and pop culture, then be sure to donate. We take the kind that jingles, but we rather have the kind that folds. Huge shout out to our sponsors, Behavior Driven, Pro Wrestling World, and Indie Customs. Find them on Twitter, find them on Facebook, share them with your friends. Use them, we love all of them. As usual, I'm your host, the World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, the disrespectful intellectual, the Southern gentleman, the Mid-Atlantic bully, the Morning Star, the Incredible Huck, Will Huckaby. And as usual, once again, week in, week out, I am joined by my co-host. She is one half of the world's cutest commentary team. She is The Office. She is the voice of Mucha Lucha Atlanta and also Combat Entertainment and several other of your favorite independent wrestling companies. She is Ms. Hashtag What That Mouth Do, a.k.a. Bob Me a Taco. She is Chicago Win. She is the lover of waffles, the voice of the speech impediment, the Aphrodite of affection, and the receiver of all things unsolicited, the one, the only, Mika Villas. What up, Mika?
Hello, and welcome to Tuesday. After one heck of a weekend, man.
Yeah, it was a crazy weekend. Besides Combat Entertainment, which was Sunday, what did you do, Mika?
I went to check out GPW, Georgia Premier Wrestling, I think. Yeah. Oh, I'm probably screwing this up. And out in Canton, that was crazy. That was a house. I'm bad with numbers, so you guys can check out Larry Goodman. He was there, so I'm sure he's got the number report. But full house, full of wrestling fans, old and young alike, and some awesome action. One Mike Marshall of QT Marshall, if you're nasty, from One Fall was there with his Watts Rules, and Matt Sexels was in the house. Just a lot of talent was there, and just a lot of craziness going on. There is some kind of internal feud.
I heard they had a really good crowd there, which is amazing because, like, with the addition of Southern Honor, that's like 3 wrestling companies running in Canton, Georgia right now. You got Southern Honor, Action, and GPW. Is that correct?
There was also another wrestling show that night, same time in Canton. Lariato Pro was running at the same time. So there is a lot happening in Georgia in general. But yeah, there was a lot happening in Canton. At the Southern Honor building that night, there was a show. Chris Jericho, Rich Ward of Fozzy were at that show performing. So, like, literally in Canton, it was the place to be. You know how Atlanta is, like, I guess, the South Hollywood? Atlanta and all points surrounding is getting all forms of entertainment, and best of all for me and anybody else who's a wrestling fan, lots of cool wrestling happening right in our backyard.
I got a feeling that eventually in a couple of months, in the not too distant future, we're going to have like the Canton War, the Canton Georgia Wars. Because if you have Laredo Pro and then Southern Honor and then GPW and Action Wrestling all running, and Canton is not a big area either. I mean, the good thing is that they're all drawing really good numbers. They're all drawing upwards of 400 people for the most part. So that's all good. But at the same time, I have a feeling that there's going to be like, kind of like the Knoxville Wars back in the territory days. Like, you're going to have the Canton, Georgia Wars. It's going to be hilarious. I can't wait to see it. So what else do you do, Mika?
Well, when it happens, Will, you talked about briefly, and I could see where you might want to gloss over this. Combat Entertainment went to Alabama, to the Pro South Arena. The lovely Pro South, that was my first time there, and it was amazing facility, great little area, a little off the beaten path, but once you get inside for wrestling, it is really, really cool. And of course, Combat came to Alabama, and things happened.
Yeah,
especially for you.
We will talk about that later, Mika. I will say about the venue that I was very surprised because it's not the biggest, it's not the nicest venue on the outside. It looks like a very rundown building or whatever, but when you go inside, I immediately thought of the Church of Southern Wrestling because it's almost set up exactly like the Anarchy building and stuff in Cornelia, Georgia, except for instead of everything being more black and red, everything was black and blue. But great setup on the inside. The powers that be that actually run Pro South were super hospitable and stuff. But yeah, as far as all the other things that happened, as far as combat entertainment, we can talk about that later.
Okay.
For me, Friday, I was in Fort Valley, Georgia, for AWN, representing National Syndicate Wrestling. I actually wrestled Clyde Braddock. I know, Mika, that we say a lot of people are strong. Like we all know that Joe Black is very strong. We know Adrian Armour is strong. Myself, I'm very strong. Clyde Braddock might be one of the strongest, like, legitimate guys in wrestling. I know I've lost weight because, I'm trying to get in marathon shape and everything, but this guy was throwing me around like a 3-year-old, Mika.
I love him. He's my new favorite.
It was to the point where, like, I was taking a German suplex and I was expecting to take a flat back bump, and he just completely flipped me over head over ass, man. And it was like, I took the bump and landed. I was like, what the hell was that? I was like, it's crazy. That guy's just unnaturally. He's back in Carolina, we would call him like country strong. Like that's country boy, redneck, out in moving bales of hay strong.
I love it. He's my new favorite. I'll be sending him residuals.
Oh, boo. And then Saturday, I had a cancellation, so I ended up in Championship Wrestling from Georgia, down in Dublin, Georgia, run by Chris Nelms and a couple of other guys and stuff. Saw some old friends. Got to chop it up with a lot of guys. There was a couple of guys from North Carolina there. Got to hang out with them and stuff. Had a very interesting match with a very green kid and stuff. Not horrible. Just basically had to lead him by the nose, say, "Hey, kid, this is what we're doing." Really good crowd, man. It was like maybe about 100 people and stuff, man. But it sounded like it was at least 3 times as many. The only snafu in the entire show, and now this is a warning to promoters: if you're running in a rec center or a high school gym or someplace like that has the huge lighting, you know what I'm talking about, Mika?
Yeah, the kind of overhead lighting, big to light the whole place up. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead and adjust those lights before the show, and get them all set. Because it takes a good 5 to 10 minutes for those lights to cut back on once you cut them off. And somebody in the building, I don't know who it was. I think it was the guy running the building, or it might have been one of the referees or somebody that was working for the show, cut off all the lights at the very first beginning of the show. Like, first promo, all the lights go off, and I know what they were trying to do. But poor Dax Anthony had to end up cutting like a 15-minute promo, which really kind of killed the crowd for a second, just because he was waiting for the lights to cut on.
If it makes you feel any better, for Impact Wrestling, when they did their homecoming in the old asylum there in Nashville, at a certain point, the lights went off in the building. They lost power completely to their trucks and everything. And Eli Drake and Tommy Dreamer had to kind of stall for time. First Drake was out. He got out of the ring, but Dreamer came from the backstage and kind of, played up with the crowd a little bit. And they sent out some of the knockouts to give out some free swag. So, it happens in the bigger places as well as the smaller places. It was kind of funny because I was like, yo, did Dixie turn off the lights? She's not involved, but yeah, it was kind of funny. Like, Dixie was like, screw y'all, ain't nobody wrestling tonight.
I don't own this building, well, nobody wrestling. Well, Mika, tonight, this is going to be an interesting show for us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest in the building. Unless you've been hiding underneath the rock for the last week, I guess week and a half, whatever you want to call it, you've heard my story. You've seen my story shared on social media. about my trip to Carbon Hill, Alabama for Southeastern Pro Wrestling. I've talked about it on this show. I've been very fortunate to talk about it on a couple other podcasts and stuff. But because of how social media is, the owner of Southeastern Pro Wrestling has kind of been on the defensive. He really hasn't said a whole lot. We've exchanged messages back and forth for the last week and stuff. But he, as far as, speaking out, he really hasn't said anything. So tonight, being the wrestling journalist that me and Mika are, being the fair and what's the word, Mika? Fair and come on, you don't want to
unbiased motherfucker.
Unbiased. Yes.
And unbiased. Being the fair and unbiased people that we are, we extend the invitation to the promoter of Southeastern Pro Wrestling. Last week he wasn't able to come on because he had a child that was sick, but he's been gracious enough to come on the show tonight and give his side of the opinion and talk some things out, man. And so that's what we're going to do. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's guest is the owner of Southeastern Pro Wrestling. Not the bad guy, kind of the bad guy in my opinion, but not quite. But he's here to, we're going to give him a platform to speak and to share his side of things. The one, the only Shane Baker. What's going on, Shane?
How y'all doing tonight?
We're doing good. I don't know about Mika, though.
First and foremost, I appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to be on your podcast.
No problem, man. I feel like, the way social media is these days, a lot of times people don't get the share. Once the first story goes out, a lot of the whoever else is in the story has to fight to be heard and stuff. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk.
Go ahead. Like I said, first and foremost, I take a lot of pride in Southeastern Pro Wrestling. As a promoter, general manager, like I said, I have a guy in the back, that owns it, but I'm the face of it, I guess you could say. So let's get to the issue at hand. Saturday night, which was a week from this last Saturday. Correct? Let me make sure. Yeah. Make sure my dates are, I've been dealing with a sick youngin'.
Yeah, we could go from this past Saturday, yes.
Okay. There was an incident with a couple of the fans that made some racial gestures towards Mr. Huckaby. I say Mr. Huckaby, but that's a professional way to say it. William Huckaby. It was handled kind of quick, kind of drastic, and we only had one side. 35 minutes after the show, we get a picture sent to us of Mr. Huckaby shooting a bird. Now, we investigated the situation, but before we could investigate, we did tell C. Dog Collins, which a lot of people don't know is the OCWA guy that's over that, which brought in Mr. Huckaby. Our agreement was when we do our stuff, if anything happens with any of the OCWA guys, he is to be contacted or talked with. Now, like I said, the incident was not investigated until a day or so later, which we talked to some fans that was sitting close by, and in fact, they did tell Mr. Huckaby, sorry, William, that's just how I'm going to address you. Yes, boy, stay on your knees where you belong. Had we knew that, we would have addressed that situation right there. The fans, however, did get kicked out of the show right then, towards the end of the match, or I'd say after the match. I don't know why I said the end, but anyway, for causing a big disruption, a big scene, and saying that wrestlers can call us names, we can't call them names. You're not taking up for the fans, vice versa. Long story short is we didn't know at the time that he had been told that. Had we knew that, we would address it right then. Now, we did address the situation as far as they was a distraction and a disruption and was barred from the show. Well, later on, a couple of days later, they get on there with C. Dog Collins and all them on Messenger where I posted a thing apologizing to William Huckaby for the incident. And we wouldn't tolerate it. We don't condone it. And we've been going for 8 years. We've had 2 little small incidents in 8 years. and they've both been addressed. And like I said, C-Dog Collins and all they've worked for our show for a long time. And the other incident happened to be with them. It was handled right then. The fans was told to leave where a fan had done something, and C-Dog or his partner one had knocked his hat off his head. Like I said, I jumped to the gun and told C-Dog Collins, which Mr. Huckaby was sitting beside, if he was going to shoot birds, we could not use him. We try to keep it a PG show, kid friendly. I've got an almost 6-year-old that's at my show, and it's just a kid friendly environment. However, we did not, and like I said, we've reached out, we've talked to William Huckaby many a time about the situation was handled too quickly, too drastic. If we'd had news, if there would have been some kind of gesture made that way or words, William would have never been told not to come back for, like a suspension, which technically there's no suspensions because nobody's under contract. But like I said, I talked to C-Dog. We both reached out to William. I promise you that we do not condone anything like that on either side. We try to run a very classy promotion. We've been doing the OCWA, SCPW thing for at least a year and never had any kind of thing like this. The other incident, like I said, was at a whole different city that we run in like years ago. So while I'm on this podcast, I want to, like I said, one more time, reiterate William Huckaby we're sincerely sorry that you had to deal with the words that them fans said. Unfortunately, there are a lot of fans in this business that have hatred in their heart. Now, do we condone that? Absolutely not. But with that situation, I'll be the first to tell you, as the general manager and promoter, I handled that very quickly and should not have done that. It should have been talked out more, figured out the whole situation, and then went from there. So with that, I'll take that, and I'll have to eat that. I have to go with that. I made that decision too quickly. And that's what I want to say. Like I said, we have a good promotion, take a lot of pride in the Georgia guys that come, Florida guys, etc. I mean, 2 incidents in 8 years, I don't think it's, there's several shows that have them weekly or every month. So we try to take pride in handling the situation appropriately, and like I said, that situation was not handled the way it should have been. And once again, Mr. Huckaby, sincerely, we apologize that happened to you in your first experience at Southeastern Pro Wrestling. You can go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you for the apology. And like I said before, apologies accepted. A couple of questions, since we got you the show, and I know that I have questions. I'm not sure if Mika does have questions, but I definitely have a few questions and stuff that I want to ask on behalf of myself, but also on our fans and listeners and people who have kept up with this story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead.
The first question is, because as far as we knew, like I said in the post, like I've said several other times, I didn't even know why originally he was kicked out. So we were told one thing. We were told that he was like, well, you said beginning of the show, no name calling. He called us rednecks. I've seen on social media where he tried to say I called him a honky, which I don't use that word. I think that's probably the dumbest racial slur ever. If I'm going to talk about a white person, I'm going to call him a cracker-ass cracker or a jar of mayonnaise or something. But that's neither here nor there. I never knew, because I hadn't heard what he had said to officially be kicked out. It was just from what I was told is that he had said, why does he get to call us rednecks and stuff like that, and we can't call that nigger a nigger. Now, I'm going to ask you because like I said, this is what I'd heard. Was that actually said?
The N-word was never said to me.
Okay. Now, what did he say? Because nobody knew that he had called me a boy besides myself and
Right.
maybe the five other fans who were around, what had he said for you to kick him out and ban him?
I was doing something totally on the other side of the ring. He hollers, him and his wife, hollers and says for me to basically come over there. Therefore, they just like distracted the whole show, completely stopped where we was at. So I went over there. He said, "You're gonna let them disrespect us and call us names, but we cannot call them names." So I said, "There was no name. You shouldn't have been calling names." I said, "It's no different than you calling them names and them calling you names. You're supposed to boo. You're supposed to cheer." At that moment, I didn't know they had said that to you. I just knew that they had booed and hollered and, being obnoxious, basically. And at that moment, I started to walk back away. Sea-Dog had walked out of the curtain, back from the back. All right. So I started to walk away, and he started hollering, "Well, you're two-faced, and you won't do this. You don't stand up for the fans." So I turned around, walked back straight to him with a microphone in my hand. Everybody in the building could hear it. And I told him, I said, "If you feel that way, y'all all three can leave." And then they was banned after I found out the whole situation. They was told to leave the building that night. And then they get on social media and have a racial, complete, ungodly, this name calling of everybody. Me, Sea-Dog, everybody. I mean, it was just, we didn't do this and we didn't do that. And then they started using the N-word. So I messaged Sea-Dog and I said, "Well, hold on just 1 second on this post and we're going to say this." Well, he started saying, "Well, I didn't call him the N-word, or I didn't do this." So Sea-Dog asked him and he said, "Well, you don't have a problem with dropping that word about 5 or 6 times in about 10 minutes. So what's the difference?" And of course, I had done mentioned them after I found out from the fans that was sitting by, like a couple seats down. And they told me that what they had said to you. And I told him, "Don't come back to the show. No shows that we ever have. Nowhere we have them, you're banned. If y'all think that way and you're going to post stuff like this as racial slurs and stuff, we don't approve of that and we do not want you here." Well, that's when they went even further with it and just kept posting and kept posting and kept posting. Then the reason the referee, was the guy's son, he lost his booking. Yeah, I noticed in one of them podcasts you addressed that, where you hated that he lost a booking. Well, he can't help that his daddy and them does that. I understand that. The reason he got asked to not come back to the show is because he was upholding his daddy in the comment. To me, that's blatantly disrespectful, not only to us, but you. So, therefore, he lost his booking because of that. He won't ever be back as a referee.
Now, see, I've never seen these Facebook posts and stuff. But I do know, like I said, after our match, after we all came through the curtain and stuff, he immediately came with us and was apologizing. And we didn't know why he was apologizing.
Go ahead.
And then you came up and was like, "Hey, guys, I'm sorry about that. We don't condone that. He will never come back again." So that's why and no offense to what you're saying now, I still believe, because I've seen the posts where this guy's made racial slurs and talk about go get your watermelon and stuff, or Obama's not the president, so you can't get your free watermelon. I've seen these posts. I hear what you're saying, but it's very hard for me to believe that the referee, who is his son, and also you, would come and apologize to us and ban these guys for just being disruptive and for not saying something racial, because the referee, his son, was in the ring the entire time, so he never heard him call me a boy.
Right.
So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I just find it very hard to believe that he didn't. When we were told what we were told he said, I find it very hard to believe that he didn't say that.
Well, the reason I came and apologized for the situation in the back was because he disrupted the show of what we had going on. That's what I was talking about. I walked up to you, I walked to Sea-Dog and all of them, and I said, "Sorry, guys, about that situation, but I had to address it because they demanded me to walk over there because they was disrupting the show. That's why I addressed it. I didn't know there was any racial remarks until after the show, and after the fact, it was talked to by other fans.
Well, I'm gonna hand it over to Mika real quick, my co-host Mika Villas, because I know she has a couple of questions.
Go ahead,
because she kept track of the story as well. Mika, what do you have for tonight's guest?
So I need to ask some questions just to get your background in promoting, and then a follow-up question. How long have you been promoting wrestling?
Right 8 years, right at 8 years.
Okay. So you've been doing this for 8 years, and it's been predominantly here in the South?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I do not have 8 years in the wrestling business. So I'm going to give you your respect and due as a veteran promoter, that you're not someone who's new to the business. But as a promoter and a general manager, someone who has the face of a company, especially here in the South, when you have an incident with one of the wrestlers, be it someone who is on your regular roster or someone that somebody brings in, you guys pull the trigger, so to speak, really quick. And I think there's a brotherhood, a fraternity in wrestling where the boys take care of the boys. And being a promoter, you are included in that. So if there was something happening, that the first thing you should have done was talk to whoever brought Will in, but also then talk to Will and say, hey, what was the deal? Instead of going out and saying, you know what, you can't come back, or this is not what we accept. Because, again, especially here in the South, we're not ignorant to the fact that there are fans, there are other wrestlers, there are people who are just blatant, racist, rude, ignorant, whatever you want to call them. But again,
absolutely.
But again, being someone with 8 years in, this shouldn't be new. This shouldn't be something that's unheard of. And for you to pull the trigger that quick is a little bit disconcerting for me. And as a fan, again, I'm in wrestling, but I'm a fan of wrestling. I go and I pay my money for these shows. So how do you justify pulling the trigger so quick on something like that?
Like he said, we stated at the beginning of the show, no kind of obscene language, no kind of obscene gestures by anyone, fans or wrestlers. And the only thing that I had 30 minutes or so after the fact of the show, we hadn't even left the building. They had done got down to eat at the Waffle House. Okay. That's the only picture I had. I never knew anything was even said, and I called Sea-Dog right then. Just like we've agreed from step one when we started the LCWA, SCPW. All right. Yes, you're correct. I should have talked to William. But our agreement was when we done this is me and Sea-Dog would talk stuff out. And I told him, I said, if stuff like that happens, we cannot use him anymore.
Okay.
Now, had I knew that had been said, it would have been totally different. He would have not been told not to come, that he couldn't come back for a few shows, 60 or 90 day suspension. But like I said, it was jump the gun, but I did in fact call Sea-Dog less than an hour after this had happened. Like the show was over. As soon as I got the picture, I still got the picture on my phone.
So I understand that whole, call Sea-Dog, that's how your chain of command, so to speak, goes. But again, these are adults here, and I'm sure that you had a way to speak directly to William, to Huckaby, via social media, or some kind of way, say, hey, put this guy in touch with me, because I at least want to hear it. I mean, in any situation, even outside of wrestling, we're adults talking
Correct.
and dealing with business people, with other adults. You have to talk to the talent, and again, too, your fan base. If these fans, we'll call them, have been unruly before, this clearly is not the first time. There's no way that this incident is the first time. They've been disrespectful and unruly. You know your fans and you know the people coming in, especially those on a regular, consistent basis, that by all rights it means, yeah, this situation got them put out now, but this was not something that they just came out of their mouths with. They felt comfortable doing this, which means they've done it before.
Now, after the fact that all this had come out, it was brought to my attention by other promotions that they have been kicked out of their promotion. Now, did I know that prior? Absolutely not.
So nobody came to you, be it a fan or another promoter or just some visiting wrestler and said, hey, yo, those guys, these people are just, I've seen them around someplace.
Nope.
That just seems, pardon me, I don't want to be so bold as to say that's an untruth, but I feel that is just not full on. Somebody might have had to have said something earlier, before, somewhere down the line, especially, again, if these people have frequented shows. People know jerks when they see them, and they've seen them in wrestling shows because, guess what? All the jerks go to wrestling shows, and we tell promoters, we tell wrestlers, hey, that guy right there, that girl right there, we share this information. So
right.
I just find it hard to believe that nobody has ever said anything about these folks, considering that the ref is a part of the family.
Right. I agree with what you're saying, but if it would have been brought to our attention prior to that, we would have handled it before now. We have never been told that they have called any wrestler nothing.
What do you say?
Now the other promoters have contacted us since that on that post and said these fans have in fact been kicked out of our show too. Now prior to that, we haven't been. Because one thing is we don't go to other shows very much around the area.
Right. Okay, so what do you say? Because I have people who, I said you were coming on, and they said, well, he's trying to save face. They're trying to save their business at this point because this is blown up, so to speak, on the wrong side of their business. What do you say to people who say you're just trying to save face, that the reason you're speaking now is because now you've got a quote-unquote good enough story?
It had nothing to do with a good enough story. Last week I had to decline the offer dealing with a 5-year-old sick boy with the flu. So there was no saving face or anything like that. Like I said, it was brought to our attention. We handled it too quick. We was manning up. We've since took our lumps with it, but nobody had to wait to make a story up. C-Dog, like I said, was talked to right then. No, William Huckaby should not have been suspended, as we use in the wrestling, because nobody's under contract. But had we knew that the fans had said this, they would have been told right then they're barred and never to come back. A day or so later, after we talked to a couple fans that sat close to them and actually heard them say, yes, boys, stay on your knees where you belong, the situation was handled right then. Don't come back. Don't ever try to come back. And then the referee was trying to take up for his dad, and a lot of people may not agree with that, but when he took up for his dad, he broke the brotherhood. So therefore, he was told not to come back. We don't support racism. We don't agree with it. Like I said, I have a 5-year-old that goes to the show. There's multiple kids that go to the show. And at the end of the day, we're going to protect them kids.
Now, let me jump in here, Mika, if you don't mind, because I have a couple of questions. Our time with him is running very short. So, Shane, here's my next question.
Go ahead.
Because let's just be honest. This has put a really big black eye on not only you as a person, but also Southeastern Pro Wrestling. Two-part question. Number one, what have you learned from this situation? And two, what steps are you taking to, I guess, gain the trust of not only the wrestling fans, but the wrestling community as a whole?
Well, the first answer to that question is I learned that I in fact handled that situation too quick. I did not get the whole story. Therefore, I jumped the gun and pulled the trigger, as y'all said a while ago. And I sincerely regret that. I wish I would have knew both sides of the story. So on that's my fault. Now, what we're going to do is from now on, there will be multiple signs put up. There will be other people more people will be put around in the crowd in case something is sort of like this situation could possibly go down. Now, like I said, the security was not over there and did not hear that. If they had it, we would address the situation right then. But we're gonna, try to do our best to eliminate any kind of incidents from ever happening in the future.
Okay. But my question is this, because since this situation, there has been, and I'm just gonna be truthful with you, there have been a lot of wrestlers and wrestling promoters in the Alabama area that haven't spoken very highly of you and the company, and I'm just being honest with you. And I'm not going to say that they're not mad at you or it's not jealousy. I have no idea why. I'm just going to say that they were not very favoritive of you. This has put a huge black eye on your company, and now the entire wrestling world is looking to see what you're going to do next. My question to you is, what are you going to do to rectify this? What are you going to do to gain back the trust of the wrestling community, as far as your fellow promoters, as far as other wrestlers? Because as of right now, and I'm just going to be very honest with you, Shane, a lot of wrestlers, especially wrestlers of color and wrestlers who have, minority friends, don't really want to come and work for Southeastern Pro Wrestling. So do you have any plans to change the way people look at you and your company?
The only thing that I could do is try to make right what was wrong. And I've had minorities work for me the whole 8 years I've ever had a show. I mean, like I said, not just black, white. All minorities. We welcome that. I mean, it's an isolated incident that, we will have to do more, and me as a person too, will have to do more to make sure that does not ever happen again.
Are you going to start speaking out against racism when it comes to not only wrestling fans, but the wrestling business as a whole?
Absolutely. Would love to have someone to come in and talk before the show also with me in the ring. I mean, like I said, to me, it's rise against hate. I mean, there should be no hate. And like I said, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to let you finish your statement.
Like I said, I mean, the only thing that we can do, is we made a stupid decision, a wrong decision. But like I said, anybody can go back and look at any flyer that we've ever had for 8 years and see that we have never used strictly one color. Like I said, color. We all bleed red. We all bleed red, and that's how I've always felt. Besides people that don't like me, and that, unfortunately, that happens in this business. You can't make everybody happy. You're not going to. But like I said, Sea-Dog has worked for me for way over a year. Him and several of them, and they'll tell you, just like he went on there and said to himself, Shane's always had my back, and he will continue to have my back. That's what I want to build back up with the guys that come in and wrestle for our company. I felt like I failed them. I want to build back up the trust.
Now, a few more questions. I know our time with you is running very short.
That's fine.
What was your first reaction? What was your first reaction when you actually saw the post? And then what was your reaction when you saw the traction that it gained? How many times it had been shared and stuff?
Well, I'll be the first to tell you it completely sideswiped me because I did not know that they done you that way. Embarrassed more than anything that it happened for your very first time ever to be at the company. And, embarrassed on my end too, because I handled it too quickly. Like I said, all we can do is try and make sure that nothing like that happens again. And yes, absolutely, I would love to speak out against it. That's the reason. Go ahead.
Have you gotten any? I guess, for lack of a better word, have you gotten any hate mail or anything of any? What's been the reaction towards you personally and toward the Southeastern Pro Wrestling Facebook page and stuff since all of this has happened?
Well, I can honestly say this: there's some on there that bash me, but there's also, I have a fan club that hadn't liked me for over a year or so. It was, and they hate me regardless. It don't matter. There's nothing to do with wrestling. It's a personal vendetta these people have against me. It's 2 or 3 people, but that's fine. That's life. I deal with that. They attack my personal life. That's okay. I take that with a grain of salt. I'm a big boy. Point is I've had just as much support as I've had, probably more support than I have people that's been against us. But because the only thing that people didn't understand is why it was handled abruptly, too quick. It should have been handled differently. And I agree. Like I said, when I made that post and apologized to you and told you the situation, there's been like 77 comments. But there's also, the fan base has also spoke up that heard what happened out there, because you could have dropped a pin in that building, and they heard me address the Moody family with with them disrupting the show and telling me that I didn't do this, I didn't stand up for the fans, and I stood up for the wrestlers and not the fans. That got them kicked out. Now, I've had nothing but support from the fans for that, because I kicked out the disruption. Now, had we knew that they had made that comment to you, they would have been told right there in front of everybody in that building not to ever come back. But it was, and I know you even said yourself when me and you talked, that you posted that online before they had a chance to post something themselves. Correct?
Exactly.
Okay. And to me, I didn't even know, I can't blame you for posting that. You had a very bad experience, and I'm not by far condoning that. But in the future, we want to try to make things right and give the, people, we try to eliminate people with hate. Like I said, hate, that's a nasty word to use, I know, but unfortunately, there are people in this world that has hate in their heart. Now, do I agree with that? Absolutely not. My best friend is a black gentleman. I go to his family reunions. Do I feel out of place? Absolutely not. Do they love me to death? Absolutely. I'm getting good feedback. I'm getting bad feedback, but I deserve the feedback because I handled it too quick. Now, when it was brought to my attention, go ahead.
Well, it's definitely a good thing that you're owning up to it and stuff. That's probably the best way. One of the best ways to start anew is to go ahead and say, yes, we messed up. Yes, I handled it correctly, but we will do better by proactively and not just saying, hey, we're going to run good shows and we're going to try to stop these fans from coming back. Right. We're going to proactively voice out against racism and voice out against any kind of hate speech, whether it's racist or sexist or homophobic.
Correct.
So I definitely applaud you for that. Now, last thing, and it's more of a statement for myself, because a lot of people have been asking me. And I said that I would address this with you on the line and stuff. And the question everybody wants to know is, will I ever return back to Southeastern Pro Wrestling? And I know that you've sent me a message asking me to come back, saying, hey, you're always welcome to come back. And I will say this, and then I will give you a chance to speak. I will never say never when it comes to pro wrestling. We've seen, with the WWE, you've seen superstars like the Ultimate Warrior eventually came back to WWE and got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. But as of right now, I will say that I will not be returning to Southeastern Pro Wrestling because I personally, as a black man, I have to see you put forth an effort to end racism and hate speech when it comes to professional wrestling and create an environment that is welcoming to everybody, regardless of race or sexual identity or gender or whatever the case may be. With that being said, and like I said, that's my answer. As of right now, I would not be making a return to Southeastern Pro Wrestling, but I would never say never because you don't know what the future holds. But I would personally, and of course, I'm going to be keeping tabs on the company and stuff. But I would personally like to see you be proactive when it comes out against speaking about not only speaking out against racism and other hate, other forms of hate speech, but
Absolutely.
also creating events, helping out because the building that we ran at Carbon Hill is right next door to a low income housing development stuff. I want to see you reach out to that neighborhood and try to get that community involved. Try to do other community service events and stuff. Do things for underprivileged youth. Do things for the LGBTQ community. Do things for female wrestlers. Until I see that, Shane, and I'm just going to be completely straight up honest with you, until I actually see you doing proactive changes and making choices like that, I'm not going to feel like you're 100% sorry. With that being said, I'll await your response.
Well, like I said, the situation was handled very poorly. We respect that. We respect your decision because, yes, you was in fact, it came off as you being treated unfair. I mean, yes, like I said, I would really like to do and I'm going to, if it's by going and giving tickets away to try to bring the community closer together. I have no problem doing that. That's something I do anyway. I try to, kids and stuff like that. I like the Little League. I try to give them tickets. And like I said, it don't have nothing to do with color or anything like that. But to me, I guess it would be the words you would use would be rise against hate, because there's a lot of hate in this world. There really are. And like I said, I consider him my brother, and he'll always be my brother, just as Sea-Dog, and all the guys or anybody else, that's my only way I can do it is try to bring the community in and speak to them before we do it. Even if I bring in a special guest, to talk, need to understand that racism in America is not what we want. And, that's, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought about something. Last question. What do you think about the wrestlers and the fans on the comments? Because we both read the comments, the several hundred, if not thousands comments, who said that this wasn't that big of a deal and that I needed to grow a thicker skin.
To me, it was a very big deal when it was brought to our attention. Now, we can't speak for how the fans react, but we can speak how the organization reacts. We don't agree with it. Like I said, there will be steps taken to make sure that this situation does not happen again. And unfortunately, it did happen with you. And you have every right to have a look at the Southeastern Pro Wrestling, as a down company, as a bad company. But that, like I said, that incident was not handled correctly. But we can assure you that there will be steps taken that this incident or anything like this incident will not happen again.
All right. Before I let you go, Mika, do you have any last questions? Any last question, I guess, for our guest tonight?
I don't really have a question. I just have a comment. Honestly and truly, I wish you, Shane, and your company the best. There is going to have to be, as Huckaby said, a change before I feel that myself as a fan, I would feel comfortable being at your promotion. And I think that I can speak for other fans, women, children, anybody to feel comfortable. So I know that it's a hard lesson that you guys have now learned, and that the rebuilding process is going to, I don't know, take a while, maybe not, who knows, but I wish you guys the best, because this situation, it was sad that it happened in 2019, and now you guys have to deal with the fallout.
Absolutely.
So good luck.
I appreciate it, and I also appreciate y'all letting me come on and speak. And like I said, once again, William Huckaby, we do apologize from the organization and from me that you dealt with this, and especially in 2019, where we shouldn't have to. Now, like I said, the door will always be open, but I would rather you feel comfortable and let us make, and we're definitely going to make some changes and make sure that stuff like this doesn't happen again. And once again, we sincerely apologize to you, and we appreciate you giving us the time to speak on our side.
No problem. Thank you for coming on the show, man. A lot of promoters in this situation, they probably would just dump their head underneath the rock and stuff, man. And I will admit that I didn't think you were going to come up here, man. I don't know whether it's because you didn't want to face the questions or if you thought we were going to hijack you or whatever. But thank you for coming. Thank you for being a guest in the show, man. I really do appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
All right. Talk to you later. Have a good night.
You too.
Mika.
Yes.
Shane Baker, owner of Southeastern Pro Wrestling. Thoughts?
For those of you live on Twitch, as you see me talking in the background, I am on Facebook Live. You can check it out, Mika Villas. I will save the video talking to some of the fans. I got promoters, fans on here where we're kind of talking. Will, I try really hard to be Switzerland. And when you first came out with this, I tried to take it not so much with a grain of salt, but to try to backtrack and put myself in the promotion's place to see if perhaps, again, there was some justification or something, some disconnect that was missing or something. And it was hard. It was a stretch. Listening to Shane, I am not Switzerland anymore about this. I don't know him, but I don't feel good about the conversation and the words. That's the best I can put it. Again, as a fan of wrestling, as someone who travels from state to state to state to go watch wrestling, I would not feel comfortable being in any promotion that he is associated with, because there is something lacking there. There is something that, again, a complete disconnect happened, and I feel is continuing to happen, where now they have to react and to defend and figure out a way out when this was something that should have never happened. And while he admits to their wrongness, I don't feel that it's a full feeling of why they're wrong. And again, my feelings are mine. My thoughts are mine. But again, this, I really feel, and I hope that I'm wrong, and that whoever is responsible for that promotion, that they have this moment of enlightenment where they really feel and understand truly what happened and how they were not only wrong, but how to come back from that. Not even from a business perspective, but from a human perspective. But yeah, no. And again, you know me, I make jokes about, I really truly feel no color, I try to be just straight up down the middle. There's no white, there's no black, there's no gay, there's no straight, there's no this, there's no that. And when this happened, I'm like, man, come on. And I really feel now that I'm in the South, and this blatant racism in certain places is just acceptable. And I shouldn't feel like that. Not in this day and age. It should not be that way. You know when people are that way, especially if it's a smaller promotion, places where people come every week, every month, or what have you. You know if a wrestler, after you've said, here are the house rules, something happens, that something had to happen. You don't just, go, oh, well, you're out. I don't feel shame, and I don't feel his company.
You are 100% correct to feel that way, Mika. I will say, even after having this conversation with him, I still feel just like you, that there's a disconnect. And one of the questions I was going to ask him was, do you understand why I reacted to his statement the way I did? But I decided not to ask that because I realized during the conversation that he wouldn't understand. And that's a statement, and that's something that only I guess another black man would understand how that feels. We've just seen that this week with Russell Westbrook in Utah, dealing with some Utah Jazz fans, where he threatened to, excuse my language, ladies and gentlemen, but he threatened to fuck up a man and his wife because he had called him a boy and said, get on your knees where you belong. I find that very ironic, but not in a funny way, because that happened to Russell Westbrook like basically a week after it happened to me. After having this conversation with Shane, I feel like you, Mika, where I feel like I don't feel not only safe, but also welcome in a place like that and I meant it when I said that nothing in wrestling is guaranteed, but at the same time, I also meant it when I said that there has to be an active change when it comes to not only the wrestling company as a wrestling company, but how they do business, how they interact with the community. I was 100% correct. The wrestling community, in my opinion, the wrestling community, other promoters, other wrestlers, they don't like this gentleman. They don't like his company. They don't like him as a person. Fans don't like him as a person or as a wrestling company. So it's not going to happen overnight. This is going to be, because of this situation, this will take months, if not years, of, for lack of a better phrase, kissing people's asses to just be able to get the chance to show people that they're sorry. Does that make sense, Mika?
It makes perfect sense, but I can tell you like this, you're never supposed to say never or whatever. I ain't got that much ass for him to kiss, or him and anybody else. Never have that much ass for them to kiss. It for me, it will not happen. That is just how it goes.
I'm just laughing at Jamie because if you ever see Mika live, you know she has a huge ass.
On that note, talking about huge asses, let's segue into your Sunday.
Oh,
see that segue was smooth like butter.
Speaking of huge asses, speaking of and talking to shitty bookers and promoters and shitty bookers.
Wait a minute now. Hold on. I still have a job here, and I'm gonna need you not to be disparaging because I still need to get this booking.
Okay, I will go ahead and do it. Ladies and gentlemen of Twitch, Facebook Live, and anybody who's listening to this podcast, the views and expressions and whatever feelings of Will Huckaby does not reflect on the Angry Marks podcast, the Wrestling Nerdcast, Mika Villas, C.W. Anderson, and any and all affiliates and employees. They are the views, comments, and concerns of Will Huckaby and Will Huckaby alone. That work for you, Mika?
That was a great disclaimer. I appreciate it. I am Switzerland again. I am waving my damn flag. Go ahead.
Okay, so speaking of shady promoters and bookers, let's go ahead and talk about Combat Entertainment and Josh and Keith. Let's talk about that. What was told to me was I was supposed to have the match with Ace Haven. I was supposed to get 2 infractions. He was going to hit me with the brass knucks. and then the referee was supposed to catch him, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like basically, they catch him. So it just looks like, Blacklist is trying to screw me over, but it's not happening. That did not happen, obviously, Mika. I guess at the last minute, Blacklist decided that, nah, we're just going to go ahead and just, do the whole firing thing. And then I was told backstage, I was like, hey, what the happened? And then I was told, because they didn't really like my gimmick, I wasn't really getting over. I wasn't really showing them anything. They had other guys that were waiting for spots that they felt was way more deserving. He made a decision during the match, mind you, that he was going to go ahead and unbook me for the rest of basically, he was going to unbook me from Combat Entertainment. I'm a professional, because once again, like I said last week, this business is built on reputation. So I wasn't going to create, it was in another company's building, so I wasn't going to wreck their shit. But Mika, when I threw that chair into the ring, I was dead fucking serious when I threw that chair into the ring. Like, I was super pissed. Because as far as I knew, that wasn't supposed to happen. So since I'm no longer working for Combat Entertainment, CW, are we still live on Twitch? CW? Mika, are you still on Facebook Live?
I'm about to go off of Facebook Live.
Yeah, we live. We
feel
live everywhere.
We're live on Twitch.
Everywhere.
Okay, I will go ahead and say. Okay, well, I will go ahead and say it like this. Fuck Blacklist Uno / Murder One / what?
I turned off Facebook. I was like, nope, not on my Facebook. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Fuck Blacklist Uno / Murder One / Keith DeBetham. Fuck him as a person, as a wrestler, and as a promoter. He is a bully. We all know I call myself the Midland bully. He thinks that he can do shit and get away with it. He has used his influence and his bullying tactics to get rid of a lot of other people when it comes to Combat Entertainment / Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. Talent such as Owen Knight and Ashton Starr, Kiera Hogan, et cetera, et cetera. Like, we're all these people. Chris Main, Jacoby Boykins. Fuck Josh Wheeler for being the spineless son of a bitch that he is, who just lets Keith does whatever the hell he wants to do. Keith, I'm looking into the camera now so you know that I'm dead ass serious when I say this, Keith, because I'm not going to call you Blacklist. I'm definitely not going to call you Supreme Leader, and I'm definitely not going to call you Murder One because you look more like Manslaughter 3. Keith, I'm not Stephen Platinum. I'm not any of these other wrestlers from Georgia. I'm not afraid of you. If you tell me to meet you somewhere because you're going to fight me, I'm not going to do like Stephen Platinum and not show up. I'm going to be there. You call yourself a tough guy. You think that you're a gangster. You think that you're a thug. Let's be honest, Keith. You've never spent a day in jail in your life. Me, on the other hand, I really live this shit. All right, if it wasn't for my wife and my kids, I'd probably be doing life in prison right now. So you think that you're a tough guy? I tell you what, you are going to see my face because I think that you're disrespectful. I think that you're unprofessional, and I think that and I'm not going to call another man a bitch unless I want to fight him. So I don't. My father always told me never call another man a bitch unless you want to fight him. So Keith, you're a bitch. You're going to see my face very, very soon. And literally, I'm not joking. You can have whatever the fuck you want to have there. Don't run. All right? Don't run. Now, with that being said, the rest of Combat Entertainment was really, really good. There was a lot of good talent. Aria Blake was there. Hunter Law was there. I thought I had a really good match with Ace Haven. I thought he did very well. Joe Black and Chris Cron had an amazing match. Am I missing something, Mika?
You expect me to talk after that?
I've been drinking Tanqueray this whole time, ladies and gentlemen. So I was waiting for the chance to talk about Combat Entertainment.
Yeah. Shit. Pardon my French.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Mika, let's be honest. The majority, I'm the biggest babyface they had at AWE / Combat Entertainment. people came, like the fans were always behind me. For you to say that, oh, we don't have nothing for you and you're not living up to your full potential, and we're just not, we don't like the fact that we have to keep editing your promos all the time. Like, that's total complete bullshit. Let's just be honest.
Show was great. Yeah, things happened, and I have to attempt to be Switzerland here.
Be Switzerland, since you weren't Switzerland like 10 minutes ago.
Things happen in business and in this wrestling business where, you know, promotions and storylines and things change. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk about things changing? Let's talk about Cold Security. Let's talk about the fact that now Cody Cold aka Cody Klontz, or whatever his name is, was played off as a leech and a latchkey kid, or a latch boy, or a lackey, or whatever in AWE, and now he's like Mr. Total Badass fucking, you know, jiu-jitsu master, and now all of a sudden Keith and Joshua are now kissing his ass and wants him to come back. Let's talk about that.
Let's not talk about that. Let's just say that sometimes you have a difference of opinion in business and you part ways amicably.
Let's say that, I don't know what it is, Mika, but the last 2 weeks, like, promoters have just, you say people are supposed to be professional, but let's just be honest. Anybody that calls himself Murder One and swears him down that Homicide stole his name, let's just be honest. Like, really, do you expect for somebody like that to be professional? You know what I'm saying? Like, you've seen him on other podcasts. You've seen him on this podcast. You've seen him out in public. Like, does he really strike you as being professional?
Everybody has a different level of professionalism in how they do business. I'm not saying that he is the suit and tie type of person. But again, everybody's different. You're different than any other guy from Carolina.
I'm still professional.
But again, your
I'd
professional
like to
is
thank everybody
different.
that's on Twitch right now that's listening in on the show. Thank y'all for showing up.
Thank you for all our listeners on Twitch. Here's what I'm saying. If you don't want to use me, if you know, creative, as the saying goes, if creative has nothing for me, if you don't think I'm connected with the fans, then just tell me. I'm professional enough to be like, okay, cool. Or give me a heads up and say, hey, Will, we really need you to step your game up. If not, we're going to let you go. Don't tell me it's going to be one thing just so you make sure that I don't shoot on a promoter whose building you're using. Let's don't, you know what I'm saying, get me into the ring and have me doing business.
Isn't there something about an actual reaction to be said? Because things do change in the moment. For the moment, you see something, you look at something, and you think of it on the fly, where you're like, you know what, we're gonna change this finish. It's not like, okay,
change it. There's a difference between changing the finish and the referee didn't have an earpiece, so he could have said, hey guys, we're gonna change the finish.
Right. I mean, again, that's what I was gonna say. You know, there's no earpieces. It's just kind of like, you know, in the moment, for the moment. Okay, we're gonna do this, or to get your live full reaction. No. Or again, you are, and by your own admission, pardon my French, you're a bad motherfucker. You're a tough son of a bitch. Yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. And you'll whoop, and can't nobody whoop you. So you don't have the reputation of being docile in your demeanor.
But I have a reputation of being a professional, no matter what. I've always been a professional.
Again, as you're worked up now.
I got nothing to lose now. I know.
Hold on, Mr. Tangeray drinking. As you're worked up now, you would have been worked up then, because again, it's a little free ball and free for all. I didn't say you were drinking, but possibility could have been there that you were, you know, a couple drinks in or whatever, that it could have went real sideways real quick, that it would have turned into a actual full on shoot with a whole lot of bodies having to get involved. When this way, I'm not saying it's the right way, but this way, it got a reaction. It got a reaction from the crowd, and your reaction and the subsequent reaction that'll happen because of what happened. Again, not necessarily in your favor, but not against you too. You have your fans. You have your professionalism. You have your way of doing things. And nobody can ever take that away from you. What you can take away from this is the fact that, you know what? Do we need you? I say we as combat because you call me the office. Do we need you? You can take it and stick it in our faces where, you know what? You go do your thing and be Billy Badass all over the world and that you have plans for, where we go, hey, Will, what's up? How you doing? And you do what you do on that end when, you know, small world, on the way up, on the way down, you hit the same ladder rungs as everybody else. That's what I'm saying. That's my approach.
I know we're definitely running along with this show tonight. So I'm before we go ahead and, you know, close it up and stuff, I'm going to say like this, ladies and gentlemen, best believe this, on everything I love, Keith, you're going to see my face. All right, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may see Keith at, if you see Keith at Walmart, or if he goes to church, maybe at church, putting this, you know what I'm saying, at the bus stop, at the corner store, you know, bottle pack of cigarettes, eventually, maybe it might be at a show. I don't know. Eventually, Keith is going to see my face because guess what? We both live in Atlanta. And although Atlanta may be big, there's only so many places a person like Keith is going to go. With that being said, Mika, what do you have coming up this week?
Speaking of church, I'm apparently going to have to join every freaking denomination to pray for the souls and lives of all you heathens, because y'all don't know how to act up in here. Let's see. Friday, I don't know what's happening, but Saturday in Tyrone, Georgia, Action Wrestling in the city of Tyrone is doing a St. Patty's Day kind of like festival. I will be there all day. I'm letting you guys know, anybody who can hear my voice. Saturday, the city of Tyrone, starting at, I believe, 9 a.m. is doing a festival. They'll be wrestling about 3:30. Yours truly will be in the house all day long. You are looking at Mika Village, your hostess with the mostest, your DJ on the ones and twos on Saturday.
What, you're DJ now? You're a DJ now?
Hey, I got 2 turntables and a microphone.
Jesus. Out there's only so much, like, you know, Debbie Gibson and Tiffany and Leonard Skinner in Chicago that people could listen to in 8 hours, Mika.
What? Anyway, so I will definitely be at Action Wrestling. We have Sunday, MLA. I said that wrong for my Spanish people. I'm sorry. MLA Mucha Lucha Atlanta is coming up. That, I believe, was it next Saturday, the 24th?
Oh, it's this Sunday the 18th.
Excuse me, Sunday the 17th. I don't know. My mind is blown. I just know this Saturday, and you just totally messed up my whole rest of my world because my mind is blown, and I'm literally looking for churches as we speak so I can go pray.
All right. Well, this Saturday, Bluefield, West Virginia, I'll be at WVCW for the Luck of the Draw Battle Royal. The winner of this battle, this Royal Rumble / Battle Royal, gets to main event WVCW's big show of the year, Miracle on the Mountain, always the first weekend in June. I've already won the Luck of the Draw once before. I've been a part of the main event for the last 3 years at WVCW, trying to make it 4 years in a row. And then Sunday, like you said, Norcross, Georgia, Mucha Lucha Atlanta, MLA 18, will be in the building as the personal security guard once again for the lovely, beautiful, and so amazing Selena De La Renta, protecting her from all of the hooligans and fans that comprise the MLA fandom, or whatever the case may be. What?
You gonna take a bottle to the face for Selena? That's cool.
I took a bottle to the face for Ricardo. I might as well take one for Selena. I'll take 2 for Selena. She's hot. But yeah, that's this weekend. Anything else, Mika?
Yes. Be good to one another.
That's my line. Art J. Springer.
Right, exactly. I feel like this is an episode of Springer without the chairs being thrown, but the verbal chairs were just tossed. Where the hell is Steve? I need Steve.
We don't have a Steve, we have a CW. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's been this week's edition of the Wrestling Nerdcast on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. Once again, thanks for all of our fans and stuff who followed us on Twitch, listen to this podcast live. Thank you to all of the followers on Mika's Facebook Live who are, commenting and interacting with her. Thank you to our sponsors, Indie Customs, Behavior Driven, and Pro Wrestling World. Once again, if you like this show, if you like what we do, if you like hearing me and Mika talk with all of our friends and others, friends, associates, whatever the case may be, people involved with the wrestling business, whether they're wrestlers, promoters, bookers, photographers, fans, whatever the case may be, other podcasters, be sure to support us on patreon.com/the Wrestling Nerdcast. As usual, like I said before, we'll gladly take the kind of jingles, but we'd rather have the kind that folds. And if you donate enough money, you can talk to Mika. You have a video chat with Mika while watching Raw. Ooh. Or possibly if you donate enough money, you yourself can produce your own episode of the Wrestling Nerdcast. That's right. You decide what kind of guests you want, and then within reason, because we're not getting WWE people up here, but anybody within reason, and we will get them on the show and ask them the questions and actually let you come on the show and be a guest co-host on the show. With that being said, on behalf of the one, the only, our producer, CW, on behalf of my co-host, the lover of waffles, the voice of the speech impediment, the Aphrodite of affection, the receiver of all things unsolicited, one half of the world's cutest commentary team, The Office, the voice of combat entertainment, boo, and Mucha Lucha Atlanta, the one, the only, Chicago win, Miss Hashtag What That Mouth Do, a.k.a. Buy Me a Taco, Mika Villas. I am your World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, the disrespectful intellectual, the Southern gentleman, the Mid-Atlantic bully, the Morning Star, the incredible Huck, Will Huckaby, saying peace out, fuck you, Keith, and everybody involved with combat entertainment, not named Mika Villas or Joseph Blackwell. And support indie wrestling, as long as it's not combat entertainment.
Hey! Don't listen to him, y'all. Goodbye.